Did you know that the physical manifestations of anxiety and excitement are the exact same thing? The physical manifestations like jittery hands, increased heart rate, difficulty sleeping, obsessive thinking are all found in both excitement and anxiety. Do you remember back in December of 2019 when everybody was like, I'm so excited about 2020, I can just feel it, it's gonna be my year. I mean, I said stuff like that too, and I genuinely felt really excited about 2020. Sometimes I wonder if God was trying to tell us, trying to warn us that 2020 was going to be what it was going to be, and we all, because of our obsession with New Year's Eve and fresh starts, I'm thinking we just registered it as excitement. Maybe, but alas, I don't know about you, but 2020 has not exactly been my year. As just a quick sum up of my 2020, I lost my job in January, 2 of my family members in February, and March, was filled with just a few little things like earthquakes and the coronavirus invasion of the United States of America. Then April is when my brain stopped working. I obviously mean that metaphorically, clearly I am still functioning. But I do feel like I lost my ability to think, and thinking is one of my favorite things to do. It was almost as if my brain just emptied out and there was nothing left. And I assume that this was because of all of the stress of everything going on. And I got a feeling that some of you might relate to what I'm talking about here. I can't be the only one that experienced that, right? And honestly, I can't even remember May and June. And now it's August? Did July even happen this year? I can only assume that May, June, and July went wherever my brain was at that point. But I'm guessing that a lot of you can relate. By all means, tell me what happened to you in the comment section below. I'm here to commiserate. Anyway, the other day I was feeling particularly discouraged and a little desperate and honestly fairly afraid of what was going to happen for me in the future. And in that mental space of doom and gloom, an ancient parable that I had once heard popped into my mind. You may have heard of it. It goes something like this. One day, a farmer lost his only horse, and his neighbors came running over when they heard him oh no, that's too bad. And the farmer's response? Good or bad? Hard to say. Then, several days later, his horse came back with 7 wild horses. One of his neighbors saw this, came over and said, wow, what good luck you have. Now you have 8 horses. The farmer looked at these new horses and then at his neighbor and said, good or bad? Hard to say. Then the next day, the farmer's son was trying to ride one of the wild horses, was bucked off and broke his leg. The neighbor heard about this and came around and said, oh my goodness, what terrible luck that is. I guess it did turn out to be bad. The farmer thought for a moment, then said to his neighbor, good or bad? Hard to say. Then, a week or so later, some officers were knocking on doors looking to draft young men for the army. They saw the farmer's son and his broken leg and passed on by. And all the neighbors came by and they couldn't believe what good luck the farmer had. Who knew that having a broken leg would turn out to be such a good thing? Can you guess what the farmer's response was? Good or bad? Hard to say. What I like about this story is that it's not about the power of positive thinking or looking for silver linings. It's just about the idea that we do not know good experiences from bad experiences because we don't know the ripple effect that's going to come from any particular thing that happens to us. And being discouraged or disappointed or excited or overly confident entirely depend on how rigid the boxes are that we construct for our situations. And it's not so much our circumstances that define whether our lives are good or bad, but the ideas that we apply to those circumstances. It's like excitement versus anxiety. It's just our brains telling us this is a good feeling or this is a bad feeling. Being reminded of this story eased a lot of fear and anxiety that I have been dealing with for the last few months. It felt like God was reminding me that I don't know what's ahead, for good or for bad. And it would ultimately be better for me to not worry about it and just be along for the ride. In other words, I've decided to take God at his word when he said, and I quote, "Therefore I tell you, do not worry about your life, what you will eat or drink, or about your body, what you will wear. Is not life more than food? Is not the body more than clothes?" I want to live with a little bit more faith and a lot less fear. And because of that, I came to the decision that I'm going to choose to believe that my life falling apart this year is not a tragedy or something for me to even fix, but it's an opportunity. An opportunity to take the pieces of my life and reconstruct them into something useful. And I thought I would invite you guys along on the journey with me. Maybe we could do this together. And with that, I'm Nicole, and this is The Reconstructed Life. Or at least it's gonna be. Nicole starts a YouTube channel. Good or bad? Hard to say.